Mike the Troop Jackson back with another edition of Fighters Talk, and it's fight day
Yes.
for Mackenzie Dern. First of all, this is your MMA debut. Just not you didn't go to you didn't start with the amateurs.
Yeah.
You went directly to the pros, and for a big show, Legacy.
Yeah.
Legacy is one of the premier promotions when it comes to MMA.
Mhm.
How are you feeling today?
I'm excited. I'm nervous, but I'm so excited. I think that anyone in jiu-jitsu, the whole jiu-jitsu community, they wanted to see my debut. So to be able to have my first fight ever, like you said, never did amateur, never did anything, just went from sparring at the academy straight here, and to be able, like all the fans and the community, to be able to watch it on, Access TV.
Right.
I think it's great. I feel so much support. I think I'm getting way more support than if maybe it was a small amateur fight that maybe not a lot of people heard about or anything like that.
Right.
So I'm so proud. I'm happy that my first fight is here with Legacy. Mick is a great guy. So
Yes,
I
sir.
think I'm part of a great event, and I'm so excited. I'm ready to get this started.
I see. You can see the excitement in your face. Now, how long have you been doing jiu-jitsu?
Oh man, 20 years. I'm 23, so I started when I was 3 years old.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So this is competition is in your blood.
Oh yeah.
So this, as far as the competition aspect of this is nothing new for you.
Yeah.
Now, what would you say is the difference between preparing for a big jiu-jitsu tournament like a Worlds or anything like that, as opposed to now preparing for a mixed martial arts fight?
Well, I think like the weight cut was crazy, crazy hard for me. It was so different, and like to be able to, like what I eat after the weight cut, all that's so different. Jiu-jitsu is like way more relaxed. Um, and I think too, jiu-jitsu for me is like a little bit harder, just because you have to be the best at everything. Because in one day, I'm gonna fight like 7 different girls
Okay.
who have 7 different strengths. Maybe one girl
That's true.
is great on top, one girl's great with the guard game. So you have to be able to face all their strengths. Here I just have one focus,
Right.
one girl, and probably she has a couple of her strengths, but I don't have to think of all these different strengths. So
Ah.
I just have one person to focus on. So honestly, my head is like way easier to focus and try to put my game. It's not like, okay, so this fight I have to make this strategy, this fight I have to make this strategy. So I think that's the biggest difference. And I'm excited. I think I know what I'm going into. For sure, I'm not the best level yet, but I think I'm as prepared as I could be for this fight.
Now, what was going through your mind? You've been doing jiu-jitsu for all these years. What switch went off in your head and he's like, I want to jump into the cage now? What was that?
No, it definitely wasn't like that. I was always kind of like, no, I'm never gonna do MMA. I don't want to get punched in the face. I think like one time I got kicked in my tooth in jiu-jitsu and I chipped my tooth and I cried and I was like, I'll never do MMA. And then, like, of course, Ronda Rousey came, and my dad's a black belt in judo.
Okay.
And I kind of like relate a little bit that she does like arm bars. For us it's like arm bars all day. You know what I
Right.
mean? So like I said like, man, she like can make a good living out of this. And I thought, okay, maybe one day. I still had all my goals in jiu-jitsu, that I want to do. And then I had like a great 2015, and I won the worlds, I won all these things. And then I'm kind of like, okay, now where I go, like,
Right.
I need new challenges. Of course I'll anytime I can, I'll like to compete in jiu-jitsu. But I'm 23, so I think right now is the perfect time to get into MMA. And I was able to accomplish what I wanted to accomplish in jiu-jitsu. So I don't know. I don't want to be like just one more. I want to be
Okay.
like remembered. So if I can get like another world title, like in
Okay.
MMA, that's like my goal now. So I want to be remembered.
Now, like you said, you're 23 years old, and you've accomplished quite a bit in the jiu-jitsu world. Where do you feel you ranked amongst some of the great competitors, not just females, but males as well? I mean, because you're a high level, so we don't want to just put you in the female box. How do you feel you ranked overall in jiu-jitsu?
I think I think compared to, I mean, of course, it's so different in the men. If you think like Bushesha fighting Coyote, who's like a rooster weight division. Of course, it's so different. But in obviously girls, we don't have as many. But I mean, I like to think of myself as like one of the top athlete fighters. Of all, men and women, not that I could beat the guys, but just from my results, and I'm small, I'm a small girl, and I'm always fighting the absolute divisions. I won a couple absolute divisions. I'm always like have a very forward game. I think it's very hard to see me like unless the other person's like good at holding me down and controlling me. It's hard to see me play like a slow fight. I'm always playing forward. So I think that's one thing that calls attention to that people like to watch me fight. It's always like going for the submission,
Right.
toe holds, knee bars,
Okay.
arm bars, all these things. So um, I'm always smiling. Like I'm friends with everyone that I'm fighting. Friends. Like I don't have any rivalries with anyone. You know what I mean? So I don't treat anyone bad. It's always like it's hard when you fight the same person,
Right.
every tournament,
Mhm.
so you kind of have to create a relationship,
Right.
it's not like you fight once and never will fight them again. So I definitely see myself like on the top there. I hope that everyone else sees me like that too.
Now, you just mentioned it where you're competing against a lot of the same women at different tournaments. At your level, are there a lot of high level jiu-jitsu players or female jiu-jitsu players, or are you constantly seeing yourself with the same women at every tournament, big tournament? And again, we're not talking about a little small local tournament. We're talking like the big worlds and Abu Dhabi and things like that.
Yeah.
Are you seeing yourself competing a little bit differently?
Yeah, like now we're starting to get the brown belts that are getting promoted
Okay.
to the black, and so you're starting to see them coming. But that's also like another reason like why I needed like a little bit. Not that I wasn't having a challenge, of course. Every time you fight someone, like if you fight them 5 times, you beat them 5 times, but they're gonna get better every time,
Right.
So I'm always having a challenge, but like it's still women's jiu-jitsu is not like huge.
Okay.
So of course, like a lot of turns, like the worlds, I'm always fighting kind of the same girls. So I wanted something different. Like we already proved ourselves. So we were still kind of fighting a lot of the same people. And so I think jiu-jitsu is growing, and I think in like 3 years we're gonna have a way stacked divisions. And I'll be excited to come back and test myself
Right.
again with the new girls. But that's another reason why I was like, okay, let me go to this new challenge at MMA because I want to fight different people too.
Yeah.
Not just the same people over and over again.
Right.
You don't prove anything too much, just that you're evolving, but you're evolving very slowly when you just fight the same
Right.
people over and over again.
Agreed. Now we're in MMA now. The level of competition is going to vary. How do you feel your MMA debut on national TV?
That's like it's a little bit pressure, just because I don't want to let down like any of the
Right.
fans, and I know everyone's so excited to see me. I'm excited to be fighting here. But like I asked all my family to stay at home. I don't have none of my family came, just because for me I think it's like very nerve-wracking, for them, and luckily they can see on TV, so I
Right.
prefer them to watch it from their house. My mom's probably gonna go crazy, my dad. But I'm excited. I'm someone that like all my teammates, they'll kill me in the academy, and I'll be like, man, I trained so bad. Like, how I'm gonna fight the world championships like this? And then I get to the tournament, like big super fights and stuff, and man, I just like everything works.
Right,
Like,
right.
so I grow really. Like, I'll fight way better at a world championships than maybe just a local tournament. It just I grow from the occasion.
Right.
And so for me, I think this is perfect. I think I'll really like grow, and this is like what I'm made for, and I think I'm made for like to put on a show and to show what I have, and I like these things. I don't shy away from them.
So you're definitely here to entertain the fans tonight
Oh,
in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and on TV on Access TV. How for you the training schedule? You're not just competing in jiu-jitsu, so you're not just there. You have to implement the striking, the wrestling, and all these other facets of the game. I actually saw one of your videos you posted. You were hitting mitts. It was on your Instagram, and you look really good. It was one of those things where you see people transition from jiu-jitsu or wrestling over to the striking side, and it has almost an awkward kind of look to it, because you know what their game plan is.
Yeah, yeah.
When I saw you on the mitts, the striking looked crisp. And again, there's a difference between obviously the pad work
Yeah, yeah.
and someone
someone's
punching
punching
back.
you.
Right,
Right.
someone punching back. But as far as training, sparring, and MMA, how do you feel you've integrated the striking into your game?
I think that like I'm a fast learner. I think because I've done jiu-jitsu my whole life, I'm used to like getting instructions, and I'm used to receiving instruction. And if someone tells me you need to change this, I'm not just stuck on that. Like, okay, I'm changing that, but I'm still paying attention to everything else.
Okay.
So I think that I was able to learn, and like I said, when you reach like black belt, you kind of hit a plateau. You're slowly getting better, but man, I like to learn. So for me, I felt it
Okay.
was like a white belt again. Every day I was learning
Right.
something different, and so I'm feeling like really good with that. I think this fight is at a perfect time for me because the World Championships was just last month in June, and I had like a great jiu-jitsu camp for that. I was training MMA the whole time. But so as soon as the world's finished, I was able to pull back on my jiu-jitsu and
Okay.
just focus on the MMA, the stand-up. And my jiu-jitsu is still at the best timing,
Right.
out of the whole year, because the World Championships is when we train to be at our very best.
Right.
So I'm so comfortable that my jiu-jitsu timing right now is like for the World Championship level.
Okay.
I just finished my camp, so my jiu-jitsu is there, and I was able to dedicate the last couple of weeks to really like tune up the
Right.
best of my stand up could be. Of course I'm not like any Joanna or anything, but one day hopefully to be like that good.
Yeah.
But for my conditions, like I just started to train like really stand up December, so I'm
Oh,
like
okay.
almost 7 months. I think that my stand up is like doing really good. I'm really excited for it. So my coaches, they're so nice to me, but they don't like baby me. So they definitely tell me like, oh, that's not doing too good. Okay,
That's
stick to
good.
this. Yeah,
That's
that's
good.
that's what I need. I don't need anyone to like tell me that I'm doing good when I'm not doing good.
Right,
I need
right.
them to tell me when I'm not good.
We've seen some top stars in the game who kind of told they were doing well and
Yeah, yeah.
didn't end up so well
They didn't
for 'em.
have people who really cared about them, to like really tell them like, hey, don't do that.
Right.
We need to really work on that.
Exactly. Now you're taking on Kenya Rosa. Are you familiar with her at all? Have you watched any tape? Have your gym or camp watched any tape at all on your opponent?
Yeah, I saw a couple of her fights. I saw like one MMA fight, and I think she's like undefeated in kickboxing. I think Muay Thai or kickboxing, and so I saw those. And I mean, yeah, I don't know too much about her, but I know she's young and she's aggressive, and I think it's like exciting. Like I'm so happy because I think being like world class champion, one of my big thing was like, man, I think it's gonna be hard to find a fight.
Right.
Maybe they'll accept the fight and then maybe they'll Google, and for sure, I mean, I know she's trying to create her
Right.
record too. Everyone's here, at our level, we're all trying to create our records, and maybe she'll think that it's not the best fight for her right now. So just for her to be able, man, we were in this camp. They were the first person that they offered me to. So to be able to like her to stay in this and she's ready for this fight too. I'm so happy for that. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm glad I'm fighting a striker. I think that's gonna be good to see if I can take standing up
Right.
and be able to put my jiu-jitsu in place. So it's not a secret that I want to be on the
Oh.
ground.
No,
No way.
I don't think anyone
So,
thinks we're coming out and throwing some Muay Thai strikes. We know what the game plan is.
Yeah.
But what I like about this matchup, you have it's obviously a grappler versus a striker, but we have two individuals who are aggressive in both styles.
Yeah.
We have you aggressive with your jiu-jitsu. We have Kenya who is aggressive with their striking. So I think that's going to play an important role in making an exciting fight.
Yeah.
In both of you all's professional debuts. One last thing, main eventing on the card tonight, we have Ryan Spann versus Robert Drysdale. Just like yourself, world champion in jiu-jitsu. He's been doing this for quite a while. How does it feel to be on the same card as someone of his caliber, knowing that you two pretty much have the same background?
Yeah, it's so great. Like besides being a great athlete and like I admire Robert so much, everything he's done like jiu-jitsu and his MMA fights, like I'm very like familiar with him in MMA too, like lots of submissions and stuff. But I know him too like on a personal level, so for me I'm like here with a friend, on the weight cut yesterday and the very end, like the last, pound. He helped me to
Oh.
lose weight. Yeah, I went to go check my weight on his scale, and he was there. Like he had just hit weight, and he's there helping me. I'm like, man, I don't know if I can do this. And it was good to have that backup, like someone that knows what I was going through and be like comfortable like that. So, man, for me, it's like a pleasure to be fighting on the same card with him, and for both of us to be representing like the jiu-jitsu community. So I'm really excited.
There you have it. Mackenzie Dern in her professional MMA debut at Legacy 58. You can catch it live on Access TV tonight. We started at 9 Central. So all the Mackenzie fans, where's all your family? Where are they coming from and where are they going to be watching?
Yeah, Brazil and Phoenix, Arizona.
Well, I don't know the Brazilian time zones. But Phoenix,
11 p.m.
11 p.m. So y'all
Brazil.
2 hours ahead in Brazil. The Arizona people, y'all are an hour behind us. So it's like 8 y'all time. So make sure you tune in tonight on Access TV, Mackenzie Dern versus Kenya Rosa.